until the supreme strategist rose once more. His mandibles clicked, but there was no laughter this time, only calculation. "Deploy the Ninth Armada," he ordered. "If shadows stalk our borders, we will burn them away." The galaxy stirred as the Veil Dominion's most formidable fleet set out, a force of 3,000 warships, each a cathedral of alloy and plasma fire. They carved their way into the starless expanse, their engines painting streaks of light across a void that had lain undisturbed for ages. And yet the void answered only with silence. For 6 days the fleet advanced. No enemy revealed themselves. No ambush struck. Only the same repeating signal, growing louder, stronger, and, most disturbingly, closer. On the 7th day, the stars went out. The silence before the storm. It began at the edges of the fleet. Outer vessels reported sudden blindness, sensors failing, lights extinguished, entire ships drifting powerless. The phenomenon spread like ink in water. Whole wings of destroyers vanished from formation, not destroyed but swallowed into lightless silence. Panic rippled through the command channels. Orders clashed with screams. Captains shouted into voids that gave no reply. The Armada, once a beacon of dominance, now felt like prey caught in the maw of something unseen. At the fleet's core, the flagship still held power. Its bridge swarmed with frantic officers as the strategist demanded answers. "Show me the enemy," he roared. But there was nothing on the screens. Nothing, except the stars themselves being consumed. From horizon to horizon, the night deepened. Not with nebulae, not with black holes, but with a shadow vast and deliberate. It wasn't the stars fading. It was something blotting them out. Then faintly at first, but unmistakable, came the sound. Not through space, but through the very hulls of the ships, low, resonant vibrations, like drums from the bones of the universe itself. Every species present had different words for fear. That night, they all meant the same thing. When the sky went dark. And then it was revealed. From the endless black, shapes emerged, impossibly vast, their outlines jagged yet precise, like weapons forged for gods. They dwarfed the Veil fleet, eclipsing even the largest dreadnoughts as though they were toys adrift in an ocean. The first vessel to emerge bore markings long thought extinct. Letters, etched in the crude yet commanding style of an ancient tongue, UNS Leviathan. The strategist's voice faltered as he read the symbols. Across the bridge, the archivist whispered a word no one had dared speak outside hushed libraries. "Humans." The drums grew louder. No, not drums. Engines. Heartbeats of steel resonating with power older than any dominion present. The council, once so quick to laugh, now found their voices stolen. Their sky was darkened not by void or chance, but by a fleet that should not exist, ships that belonged to myth, yet now stood undeniable, blotting out constellations with their presence. No threats were spoken, none were needed. Because legends don't negotiate. They arrive, they overwhelm, they rewrite. And above the trembling armada, the human warships burned their names back into reality. They sat in the High Council's marble chamber, surrounded by banners of ancient victories. The air was heavy with incense, and the tone was heavy with mockery. The matter on the floor was ridiculous, or so the delegates insisted. A junior scholar had dared to bring forth a petition from the archives, citing fragments of pre-expansion myths. Stories of a species so wild, so relentless, that even extinction could not tame them. The word had a sound that seemed blunt and unfinished: humans. The council laughed. Veterans of wars against the Sarath swarms, architects of peace after the sundering rebellions, they were rulers of the civilized stars. To them, This talk of forgotten monsters was theater, not threat. Humans? Scoffed Chancellor Valen, his ridged mandibles clicking with contempt. Children's tales. Primitive apes said to drink fire and make war without reason. The kind of stories a mother tells to keep hatchlings from wandering the dark. Laughter echoed in the chamber, sharp and dismissive. Others joined, layering ridicule upon ridicule. Humans, according to the myths, built ships from worlds they burned. They turned battlefields into graves and graves into monuments. They did not negotiate. They did not surrender. They endured. But such creatures could not be real. For thousands of cycles, no verified record existed. No coordinates. No confirmed encounter. They were phantoms in old text. Legends are for poets, declared Senator Avrath, slamming his claw on the council rail. And poets do not command fleets. The vote was unanimous. Petition denied. Matter closed. The chamber moved on to trade agreements and border disputes. The council left with laughter still on their lips. But outside their glass towers, something vast was stirring. The first tremor in the dark. It began, as such things often did, with a signal. Not a message, not a hail, a pulse. A gravitational distortion on the edge of mapped space, so faint it might have been dismissed as a sensor ghost. But the distortion repeated. Once, twice, thrice, a rhythm intentional, deliberate. At the Academy of Stellar Cartography, archivists compared it to ancient distress codes, but it matched nothing in known catalogs. At the fleet's intelligence command, admirals studied it with narrowed eyes, suspecting a rival empire testing weapons. But the junior scholar who had been mocked at the council recognized it instantly. His voice trembled as he stood before his superiors. "It's not new," he whispered. "It's old, older than our expansion. The cadence matches records buried in the Forbidden Annex, a signal linked to the myths." They silenced him. The council, when briefed, dismissed it again. A star's death throes, a sensor malfunction. Do not let imagination poison analysis. Yet as the cycles passed, the pulse grew stronger. Systems along the frontier reported fleeting shadows against their skis, massive signatures flickering then gone, as though something too large for their minds to process had brushed past them. Then one night, in the Kelran system, every star went dark at once. Not extinguished, not collapsed, eclipsed. A fleet had arrived, and it blotted out the heavens. Recognition of the impossible. Panic spread like contagion. The first images returned by scouts were incomprehensible. Ships, if they could be called ships, loomed in orbit, dark as void, their hulls pitted and scarred, yet alive with silent power. They bore no crest of empire, no familiar architecture. They were jagged, functional, brutal things, built for survival, not beauty. And they carried a signature so old, the counselors nearly dropped their tablets when they read it. Designation, Terran, origin Sol, archive classification, human. For the first time in living memory, the council fell silent. Whispers rippled across the chamber like a chill wind. Impossible. They were never real. They were stories. But the ships were real enough. They hung in the void, blotting out light, their presence pressing upon every mind like a weight. Admirals scrambled fleets, but hesitation lingered. How do you fight what you mocked for generations? How do you oppose a legend with only doctrine and pride? The High Chancellor rose, voice cracking, stripped of arrogance. If this is true, then every tale we laughed at is a warning we ignored. The day the sky went dark, the humans did not announce themselves with speeches or hails. They did not ask permission. They did not wait for diplomacy. They simply moved. Columns of steel descended from orbit, ships maneuvering with a precision that no academy had taught, weapons powered without flare or fanfare. 1,000 red suns ignited as their drives burned. And then the silence broke. A voice thundered across the communication bands, raw and undeniable. It carried in every language, translated without permission, resonating in every mind. "We have returned." The words fell like executioner's blades, not a declaration of peace, not a threat, simply fact. The Council's fleet surged forward. Thousands of cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers, the pride of civilizations. They fired in disciplined volleys, saturating space with enough force to crack moons. The human ships absorbed it. Not shields, not cloaks, something else, an endurance that defied physics. They burned, but they advanced. They broke formation like predators, slipping into gaps, severing wings, cutting engines. And when they struck back, the void screamed. Their weapons were not elegant beams or graceful lances of plasma. They were kinetic fury, rods of tungsten hurled at near-light speed. Planets shuddered under the impacts. Station hulls buckled like paper. Fleets disintegrated in storms of shattered metal. It was not war, it was reminder. For every tale mocked in the council chamber was written again in real time, carved into the sky with fire and ruin. Admirals died in silence. Senators wept in disbelief. Civilians huddled as their night turned crimson. And everywhere whispers spread, terrified, awestruck. The humans are real. Aftermath of legend. When the burning stopped, the sky was dark. Not just with ash, but with shadow, the lingering presence of ships too massive, too ancient, too alive to be anything but myth made flesh. The council chamber lay in ruin, its marble cracked by the tremor of orbital strikes that had spared the building only to prove dominance. The delegates cowered, stripped of arrogance, their laughter long dead. In the silence, a message replayed across every world, every channel, every mind. "We were forgot, we endured, now you will remember." The galaxy had thought itself civilized, untouchable, beyond legend. But legends had teeth, and when the humans returned, they did not come as supplicants or diplomats. They came as the storm that clears rot from the forest. The council had laughed at myths. The academies had mocked the archives. The fleets had dismissed the warnings.